Well, hello once again, all my vintage dirt bike loving YouTube subscribers, and a quick hello to you also if you're just visiting my channel for the very first time. Now in this next featured video we're going to take a look at a very late friend of mine's machine who I sadly lost back in June of 2019. So I hope you'll stay with me for the next few minutes as we all take a look and hopefully appreciate the hard work that has gone in to building Ian Robertson's 360 DT Yamaha. Now Ian put together this bike through the winter of 2017-2018, and although it's not an original machine, it's a bike that Ian constructed from parts of other machines. Now Ian was never a guy for buying an original bike and then just take it racing. Ian was one of those people who just liked to take parts from various other machines and build his own bike that suited his riding style and his current budget at the time. But this little Yamaha race bike was just one of the many machines that Ian built through his racing career, and he just absolutely loved this little Yamaha, and not because it was himself who built it, but because everything on the machine was actually built for a specific purpose, which of course was to be functional, reliable, and of course affordable. Now, starting with the chassis, Ian took a 1968 DT Yamaha 250 frame, which was relatively light, very strong and compact, although he did have to get the frame's swing arm extended to suit this particular bike build. But it was all completed to suit Ian's riding style and his particular current budget at the time. Now you may recognise this engine as this motor is from a 1970 Yamaha enduro bike. Now it's a single cylinder piston port 2-stroke with a 5-speed gearbox and your standard wet multi-plate clutch. Now the fuel is fed to the engine through a 35mm Mikuni carburetor. Now the ignition system is by a CDI electronic system, and apart from this slightly different cylinder head, most of the other parts inside the motor are basically your stock items from the DT Yamaha. Now, as I mentioned, this 35mm Mikuni carburetor does an excellent job of feeding this little Yamaha motor. Now on the bike's front end we have your standard Yamaha top and bottom triple clamps and a set of Yamaha front forks, with of course the attached Yamaha wheels and their hubs. Now this complete Yamaha front end works very well, and Ian spent a lot of time experimenting with this front end to get it just right for his riding style and rider feedback. Now on the bike's rear end, a good pair of classic Maxton rear shocks on Ian's machine, and these suspension systems are of course made right here in the UK by Maxton Engineering at Laurel Bank in Kingswood in Cheshire. Now, just as you would expect from Ian, he went ahead and manufactured his own exhaust system for this new bike, and this engine front section is taken from none other than a Maiko. Now this was then of course carefully grafted onto the Yamaha's tail section, and then the rear silencer was added, and I must admit it does look very purposeful and looks like it was custom made for this machine. Now if you've watched many of my videos, you'll know that I've always been an advocate of wide foot pegs on an off-road bike, and it does get my back up when manufacturers make machines with skinny foot pegs to support your feet. Although as you can see here, Ian has got round that particular hurdle by fitting these nice wide foot pegs from a KTM. Now just in case you're wondering, the bike seat is not an original Yamaha item, but yet again Ian has picked up another surplus part from the Maiko parts bin. Again, it looks right on this bike, but more importantly it's comfortable and within Ian's projected budget for this build. Now when it came to the bike's swing arm, Ian did tell me at the time that the swing arm was extended. Now whether this was a Yamaha swing arm that was extended, I'm not entirely sure, and I wasn't really furnished with all of the details on this particular day. Now another part on this bike is a good set of Renthal bars and grips. This will, of course would have helped Ian keep control of this little Japanese pocket rocket. Now he had a set of Magura levers, which of course are decent quality, and the levers had these very nice Magura covers on them to keep dirt and moisture at bay. And of course it is essential to have good grips, bars, levers, etc. on your motocross bike, and Ian certainly didn't scrimp in this department. Now the bike's fuel tank is a plastic fuel pod from Clark Tanks. Again, this part does look like it was custom made for this bike, and when you finish it off with these nice sticky on Yamaha graphics, it certainly finishes off the bike with regards its aesthetic looks. And of course a nice screw on chrome filler cap to top it off. Now I've known Ian for many years, and his passion for racing bikes was unprecedented. And as I mentioned previously, these were the kind of projects that Ian just loved putting together. Just taking bits and pieces of other motorcycles and then building something different from what other riders were racing on the track. Now while Ian was riding this bike through the 2018 racing season, Ian was riding the very best I'd ever seen him in 20 years. And this bike was virtually 100% reliable for him that year, and took him to some fantastic finishes and wins during that championship season. But of course we lost Ian to a very tragic accident in June of 2019. Not motorcycle related though, I may add, but nevertheless we lost a very dear friend, and of course a fantastic racer and a great personality.